Hi, everyone. Welcome back to class. It's so nice to see all of your bright, smiling faces with your videos turned on. I hope you all have had a wonderful break and some time to practice some self-care. I'm really looking forward to today's lesson where we're going to be talking about self-awareness and awareness of others and how that sort of plays a role in shaping our relationships. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so we can get into our agenda for today. All right, so as I mentioned, we are going to be discussing self-awareness and our awareness of others and our relationships and how this sense of awareness can cultivate relationships, strengthen them, and give us a better understanding of ourselves, other people, and our connections with them. And one of the ways that we are going to analyze these aspects is through this thing called the Johari Window Model. And this was created by a man named Joseph Harrington, the Johari being the first portion of his first name and the first portion of his last name put together for the Johari Window Model. And so essentially what this model is that it is a tool to build upon our own self-awareness and awareness of others, and our relationships with others and how these different aspects about ourselves can shape these relationships. So what this model is it is a window or a square that is broken up into 4 quadrants. And along the x-axis here, we have known to self, unknown to self, and down the y-axis, we have unknown to others and known to others. So placed at the very left and up at the top is open self, which is information about you that both you and others know, things that you're very open about and people are very well aware of and you're very well aware of as well. And then if we move down the y-axis, we get to the hidden self, which is information about you that you know, but maybe others don't know about you. And then if we move over to the right, we have the blind self, which is information about you that you actually don't know about yourself or you haven't gotten a good understanding of about yourself, but others know this about you. And then if we move on to the very last quadrant here, which is the unknown self, is information about you that neither you nor others know. So I'm sure you have a bunch of questions. I'm happy to take them. If you have any, please raise your hand and I'll get to you. All right, so now that we've had a chance to address some questions, I'm going to go into each quadrant into great detail. And I'm actually going to use this model to apply to my own life and use examples from my own life to be able to give you a better understanding of how we use this model and how it creates self-awareness. So let's start with the open self, things that I know and people in my relationships know. Very basic right off the bat, my name is Lindsay. I know that, you know that, the people in my relationships know that. I'm a teacher. I'm very passionate about my job. This is something that I love to express and be open about to everyone about my job and how I feel about it. I love to wear bright colors, flowers, things that, again, I project pretty much on a daily basis and things that people who come to know me very quickly learn about me. So these are things that I'm very open about. I project out to people and people are well aware of. If we move down here to the hidden self, this is more things where I know these things about myself, but maybe people in some of the relationships that I have don't necessarily know. So these are things that we tend to maybe keep more private or keep more secretive for various reasons. Maybe we're not comfortable sharing certain things as of yet, or it's not appropriate to share certain things, or we want to hold on to that until we feel more comfortable sharing. So some examples that I'll share with you is one very basic, again, my salary. Not something that I'm comfortable just sharing and blurting out with people. I don't find it to be appropriate for me. I don't find it necessary for me to do that. So that's something that I keep sort of hidden. And it's I think it actually makes my relationships with people better, in the sense that that's something I don't feel I need to share. But one of the things I want us to keep in mind, that these different quadrants, the things within them are not stagnant, meaning that they can shift and move around depending on the growth of our relationships. So for example, right here with personal struggles, some of the things that I've been through in my life, and these are usually things that I am not totally open with right off the bat. People who meet me for the first time are not going to know about some of the experiences that were, very heartbreaking for me, or a major struggle for me in my life, something that I don't just share right off the bat with people. However, keeping in mind that these things can change, meaning that they can move themselves into more of the open self quadrant as I start to feel more comfortable with my relationships, as I strengthen my relationships, as I build trust within them. These types of things are things that I may become more open about as the relationships progress. And so this next quadrant here, the blind self, things that I don't necessarily know about myself, but people in my relationships may know about me. And so this is something that we can sort of come to learn over time with feedback from the people in our relationships. So I'll share an example of myself. Sensitive to letdowns, which is something that I am starting to understand a little bit more about myself, but I was not aware of until I started to get feedback from the people in my relationships. And it came about with, me being extroverted and wanting to hang out with my friends and my family members all the time. And sometimes I would get back excuses of, oh, I can't tonight, I got this going on, or I don't feel good, or whatever excuse they came up with, which I find out to be they came up with an excuse or they lied. And I say something like, well, why didn't you just tell me you didn't want to hang out tonight? And what I got back with the feedback that I was given was, Lindsay, you can be very sensitive to letdowns, and I didn't want to hurt your feelings, which is why I made up that excuse. And so this was something that, again, I didn't know about myself, but through the feedback and with the communication within my relationships, I'm able to gain a better understanding of for myself, which can then help me inform how to go about my relationship with others. And then this very last quadrant here, the unknown self, things that I don't know and people in my relationships don't know either. And so you may be wondering, okay, well, if I don't know it and no one in my relationships know it, then what's there to know? And so with this quadrant, what's special about it is that the things that fall within this quadrant are things that we won't necessarily know until we experience it. However, but they can be things that we can anticipate. So an example of that, one of the more simple ones I have is like discovering, new music, asking, hey, Lindsay, do you like Ed Sheeran? And I go, I don't know, I've never heard of him before. So I don't know if I like it. However, come to, get to know him a little bit better and listen to his music. That's something I've come to understand that I actually do really enjoy. But on a more serious note, when it comes to certain relationships, things about myself that I didn't quite know until they came about, which is dealing with the loss of one of my family members. And this was something that I had no idea how I was going to cope with this loss or how I was going to deal with it. And the other members of my family also didn't quite know how I was going to cope and deal with this loss. It was something that, you can maybe anticipate, but you won't necessarily know until it happens. And so this quadrant right here, the unknown self, is something that we begin to understand with new experiences, but we won't know until those things happen. Okay, so now I'd like to take some time to answer any questions that you may have. And now that I've had an opportunity to answer some of your questions, what I'd like for us to do for the next minute or so is reflect on this model and apply it to yourself. So in your notes, I'd like for you to jot down some ideas that you have that fit into these different quadrants. What about you are you very open about and people know about? What are some of the things that you maybe keep hidden? What are some of the things that you don't really know about yourself, but others might know about you, or you're only just starting to come to understand that other people have informed you about? And then also, what about you have you not experienced yet that you don't know and that others don't know either? So we're going to go ahead and take another about a minute or so to jot down some ideas before we move on to our activity. Okay, so now that we've had an opportunity to reflect on ourselves and identify the different aspects of ourselves that fit into this quadrant and become more aware of these different aspects of our identity, I hope that we can now see how this model allows us to better understand ourselves and become more self-aware, but we can also use this model to become more aware of others and understand others in order to help shape our relationships as well. So for our activity, what I would like us to do is I'm going to break us up into groups, and I'm going to do that by using breakout rooms. And then I have assigned a song to each of you for you and your groups to listen to and go through the lyrics. And then in your group, I want you to discuss the songs and the lyrics and apply the Johari Window Model to this song by placing pieces of the song lyrics into the different quadrants. So I will show you an example that I came up with. The song that I chose to use for this activity was the song Brenda's Got a Baby by Tupac Shakur. And I went through the song, listened to it, went through the lyrics, and I was able to get an understanding of what certain pieces mean and create ideas from these lyrics and shape my understanding of the relationships within the story that's told in this song. So let's go for the first quadrant, being the open self. The social worker's here every day, a lyric from the song, something that is very apparent, everyone's aware of. Brenda herself knows that the social workers are here every day, her family, the community. This is something that is apparent that this is going on within Brenda's family, is that the social workers are here every day. The hidden self, this is something, a secret that Brenda is keeping hidden from her family. Now Brenda's belly is getting bigger, but no one seems to notice any change in her figure, is a line from the song. So Brenda is aware that she is pregnant. Her body is changing. She's going through these changes, but she keeps this hidden from her family, hidden from her friends, hidden from the community, trying to hide this aspect of herself. And then we move on to this quadrant right here, the blind self. And I found this piece where Brenda doesn't even know just because you're in the ghetto doesn't mean you can't grow. And I identified this piece as being the blind self because I see it as Brenda is not aware of her capabilities, of her potential to grow. Yet others, such as Tupac writing this song, sees the potential and sees that there is opportunity for you to grow, even given your situation, even given the environment that you're in. He sees it and knows it of her, but she doesn't know this of herself. And then this last quadrant, the unknown self. So now what's next? There ain't nothing left to sell. And this is sort of a piece that says Brenda is trying to figure it out, but doesn't know how she's going to make money, how she's going to support herself, support the child that she's carrying. And this is something that she can anticipate, but will not know until she experiences it firsthand. So this is the example that I have for you all. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can address any questions that we may have about this activity. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send a link to the Google Doc where our activity is on. So I'm sending you that link, and I'm also going to share it on my screen. Right here. Okay, so this is where we're going to have our activity. What I'd like for us to do, I have the instructions that I just went over posted on the Google Doc. And I have the example that I also just went through of the Tupac song. And again, I'm going to break us up into breakout rooms, and you'll know what group you're in. And then each group has been assigned a song, and I attached a YouTube video that has the lyrics for you as well. Again, you may want to pull up the lyrics on YouTube if that's helpful for you. And in your groups, I want you to listen to these songs, assess the lyrics, and identify different pieces that fit into the different quadrants of the Johari Window Model. So the first group, your song is going to be No Makeup by Kendrick Lamar. The second group is right underneath it with the song Miss Jackson, and so on for the rest of the groups if you just scroll down the Google Doc. All right, so I'm gonna split you up into your breakout rooms, and then we'll come back in a little while and we will share with the class our findings. We're going to, as a group, speak up in front of the class and share what we came up with. Okay, so now that we've had an opportunity to go through this activity, identify different aspects within the songs, apply them to the different quadrants of the Johari Window Model, what I'd like for us to do next is, now that we've had an opportunity to share with the class as well, we are going to debrief this activity. And we are going to do that by, I'm going to share my screen with you one last time and bring up some of the questions for us to discuss. What are some of the meanings behind the lyrics? What do they tell us about the people in the song? And if we had a relationship with the people in these songs, how can we use the Johari Window Model to inform and strengthen our relationships with them? All right, so now that we've had an opportunity to debrief this activity, discuss how these different aspects of self-awareness, awareness of others, can inform our relationships, I hope that you all were able to gain some insight on this model and how we can better understand ourselves, better understand people in our relationships, and better understand how these relationships function and what we can do to help them function better and strengthen them as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I look forward to seeing you all at our next class, and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.